Hi everyone, this is Amber from Dolls of Amber. I always say this in every video that I upload here, but today we are making a special video. This is my first collab video involving other doll artists that I admire, and I'm so happy I was able to work with them on these dolls. I organized this collab back in July and I can't believe we're finally here. If you haven't read the title yet, we are redesigning female Adventure Time characters in our own style. And today I'm working on the one and only Lumpy Space Princess.
These lumps, I know you wanna slump up on these lumps, but you can't cause you're a chump. A chump!
You're totally gonna win, LSP.
Enough yapping, let's get started on her. For my base style, I'm gonna use G3 Catty Noir. I just feel like her plus-size body and her chubby cheeks will work so well for LSP. To prep her up, I'm gonna need to cut her hair. I'm gonna cut really close to her scalp, but since her hair is pretty long and it's a really good saran, I'm gonna save it for a future project. I'm gonna submerge her head in some boiling hot water. This is to make the vinyl soft and make it easier for me to yank off the head. With a flathead screwdriver, I'm just scraping up the hair from the inside. And with some long nose pliers, I'm just extracting all of that hair. I also used the boiling water to loosen up her chest joint and her tail so I can remove them. Going back to the head, I'm just using some pure acetone to remove her factory paint. I'm just using a cotton pad to get that all cleaned up. We won't be needing her ears, so I'm just going to remove that with my X-Acto knife. Since I will be changing her skin tone, I'm going to need to sand down the problematic parts of her body, which is the parts that usually chip off around the joints. And I'm just going to buff that really well. This will just help the new skin color adhere better. For her tail hole, I just filled it up with aluminum foil, and I'm just gonna cover it up with some epoxy clay. I'm gonna blend that into the plastic with some water, and I'm just gonna let that dry for a couple of hours. Some epoxy clay, I'm also gonna cover up the holes on her hairline. I'm just doing this because I'm gonna do a black coated hairstyle later on, and I just don't want all these holes peeking through when I start doing her hair. Speaking of holes, we do have two big holes from her ears, and I do need her head to be solid and hard, so I'm just gonna fill that in with some aluminum foil. The reason for this is because the head is too squishy, and I'm gonna be doing some sculpting work later on. Making the head solid will just eliminate the possibility of your sculpting crack later on, since the head won't be as squishy. I lost a bit of footage, but as you can see, I filled in the holes with epoxy clay, and I've already started sculpting on her new ears. Once the epoxy is cured, I'm gonna go ahead and fix up her ear shape. I'm just gonna use my rotary tool for this, and I'm just gonna use the ball shaped tool, sander, whatever this thing is called, and I'm just gonna do an indentation for the inside of the ear. And I'm also using the slimmer, pointier one just to have more precision. I'm gonna put that aside while I address her hands. I'm using these purple hands from Twyla, but as you can see, it is broken. But I'm gonna fix it, and I'm gonna show you how I did it, just in case you're facing the same problem. I'm just using a sewing pin with a flat head. It's not focused, but basically I'm just pushing that into the hole where the joint connects to the hand itself. You're gonna need some pliers while you do this, since it is gonna need some force. After struggling for a few minutes, I finally got it in, and as you can see, the joint is working perfectly fine. Now I just need to cut the excess. To cover up the pin, I'm just using epoxy clay. Again, I'm just gonna blend that in with some water. I'm doing this on both sides, by the way, to cover up the pin. Let it dry for a couple of hours and you should be good to go. Off camera, I spray painted the body with a white primer. This just saves me a lot of time since her skin color is originally black, and that's gonna be really hard to cover up with just paint. I mixed up the skin color for her, and I watered it down, and now I'm just gonna paint it in really thin layers. I think this is either the third or fourth layer of paint. But yeah, this will take a couple of layers if you diluted your paint with water, but the end result does give you minimal brush strokes, which is a plus for me, of course. For my final layer, I'm going to be using some pastels. I don't have a lavender or a purple pan pastel, so I mixed up this light blue and pink. And I'm just going to brush that all throughout the body. I find that this further minimalizes the brush strokes if there's any. So it kind of just became part of my routine whenever I paint or change a doll's skin color. I'm also taking this time to body blush the body. I'm using a lot of pinks and purples on her. After blushing, I locked in all that powder with some Boston Flat Clear. I let that dry, and now I'm just going over this with some Liquitex matte varnish. This is to further protect her new skin color. I also mixed up some pearlescent powders into the Liquitex matte varnish to give her this pearly skin, and then I just let that dry thoroughly. Once done, this is what we have. I sprayed it with a final layer of Boston Flat Clear to mattify it again. And now it's time for her head. Basically the same process as her body. I spray painted it first with my white primer, and now I'm just gonna paint it in thin layers. I wasn't able to film the whole process of me painting the head, so here I did face a problem with her neck joint. I tried fitting the head back, but the head kind of became wobbly and it just didn't fit correctly, and it looks like the neck joint got really loose. Good thing though, I still have my failed Melanie Martinez body. If you watched my Portal style video, you'd know that I did come across a problem with the body as well. But now I do have a use for her neck. We're gonna do a transplant. I'm just marking first where I'm gonna cut. And now I'm just gonna use my rotary tool to cut the necks. It didn't fit correctly right away. I still have to hollow out the neck hole for Caddy's body. And for that, I'm just using the sanding bed for my rotary tool. I'm just checking every now and again to see if it fits. I'm also shaving it down since I don't want her neck to look too long. Once I'm happy with the fit, I'm just gonna super glue the two pieces together. I'm also adding more super glue on the sides, and I'm just gonna let that dry thoroughly. I'm just sanding the sides down to make sure it's all leveled. And now I'm just gonna use some more epoxy clay to blend in the seams. I let it dry for a couple of hours, and I also sanded it down to make it smooth. So now I'm just painting it again. Going back to the head, I've already sketched out her face. I really want her to look like a baddie, so as you can see, she's looking a little fierce. But now I'm just gonna sketch out her cornrows. I'm just using my white watercolor pencil for this. I'm sectioning it out first. For her hairstyle, I was heavily referencing Delightful's video, her Valentine's Love Core doll. Since I was doing a black-coated redesign of LSP, I just felt like it was more appropriate to give her a black hairstyle. Obviously, I don't really know if I did a good job on this, so just let me know in the comments. But of course, continue watching the video first and see it through the end. So now I'm just painting on the cornrows and her baby hair. As you saw earlier, I was color matching with the hair I was gonna use for her reroot. But yeah, I'm just taking my time. I'm painting in the strands of hair. And now it's time for her reroot. I'm using this really kinky curly hair from the Doll Planet. This was actually given to me by one of my followers who I became friends with as well. Thank you so much, Olivia, for giving this to me. She also donated a lot of dolls that I could use for projects. Some of them were Create a Monster High dolls, which I also used for my Gladys doll custom. If you haven't watched that yet, please go and watch it. I worked really hard on her. But going back, I'm just marking some holes for the reroot. I think Delightful explained it better and clearer in her videos, so please go watch it. I don't think I'll go in depth with this hairstyle because it was pretty confusing for me when I was first doing it. But basically, I'm just doing the knot method for this, and I'm just gonna plug that into the hole that I created. Since I did fill the head with aluminum foil, it's a lot harder to root in the hair, so I really need to force it in, which isn't really a big problem. I did break my needle and I had to make a new one, but that's okay. Basically, I rooted in 3 strands of hair for each cornrow, and I'm just gonna do a simple braid. It should look something like this, and the way I'm gonna secure it onto the head is by grabbing it with my rerooting tool, just plugging it on the end of the painted cornrow. Later on, I will go over this with some Mod Podge to make it permanent, but so far this is what it looks like. Once I'm all done with the braids, I'm gonna fill in the back of her head by rerooting it like normal. Once done, this is what we have. I am so happy with her hair. I'm just trimming the longer bits. It literally looks like a cloud and it's so soft. It just fits LSP so well. This is what the back looks like. And bro, it's so good. It's so soft. I love it so much. I'm fucking obsessed. And as I said earlier, I am gonna seal in the braids with some Mod Podge. I'm just using the matte one for this and I diluted it with some water. And I'm just gonna paint that in. Now it's time for her face up. Oh my globs, so exciting. Off camera, I covered up her head and I also glued in the star-shaped gem on her forehead. And I'm just painting the whites for her scleras. I'm also painting in her teeth. Now for some powders, I'm using my white pan pastel to give her some highlights under her eyes. I'm also adding that in her nose bridge and her chin. I'm also taking this moment to give her some pink blush. For eyeshadow, I'm giving her a dark purple. I'm using some varying shades and I'm just building that up, also extending it on the bottom lash line. And this is starting to feel like a whole ass makeup tutorial. Going back with the white, I'm just highlighting her brow bone. And I'm also going to build up some mica powder on her cheeks to give her some glitter. Off camera, I sprayed a layer of Mr. Super Clear to seal in all those powders. And now I'm just going to paint in her irises with some purple. And I'm just painting her star gold. With a metallic purple paint, I'm just painting in her lips. I'm just using that same metallic paint for her nails. Now I'm just using my black paint for her eyes. I'm just going to paint in her pupils, line in her liner, and her lashes. I did the other eye off camera, and I'm just painting in her tear ducts. With some black pastel, I'm just shading in her eyes to give it some shadow. And to clean up my lines, I'm just using some skin color paint. Well, the lilac lavender skin color paint that I mixed up for her body. I decided to give her some freckles with some white paint, and I'm just dotting that all over her face. Now for her eye shines, I decided to give her some stars. It's just a little hard to see because my hand is in the way, but I'm really happy with these. I think it looks so cute on her. I lost a bit of footage, but basically I drew in some vertical lines under her pupils, and I also painted a white shine on the side. Off camera, I also added some details for her eyebrows, and then I sprayed her face with a final layer of Mr. Super Clear. Now I'm just adding some gloss on her lips. I'm using Liquitex High Gloss Varnish, and for her eyes, I'm using Liquitex Matte Varnish. For some reason, this dries satin for me, so I use it on the eyes a lot. Now I'm gonna start accessorizing her head. I'm just adding some rings on the two braids on the front of her face. I'm just gonna glue in some earrings for her. This is what she looks like after. I've already seen it from the previous clip, but I'm gonna paint this hair clip gold and we're gonna use this as her crown. I thought of the greatest idea ever for her bag. I had this bag lying around in my stock box. This is from an LOL OMG doll. Her name is Ace. Game Boy reminded me so much of BMO, so why not make a BMO bag? I tried to remove the paint first with some acetone, but it kind of felt useless. So I scrapped that immediately. I'm just gonna paint over the bag later. I'm just gluing in some eye pins on the side since I'm gonna give her an actual chain. Off camera, I painted the bag with my white primer, and now it's time to paint in BMO's colors. Now I'm just gonna paint the face. This is what BMO looks like after. I think it turned out so adorable. I'm so happy with it. For the shoes, I'm just using these from a Rainbow High doll. I don't remember which one it is. You can comment it down below if you know. But I'm just gonna paint it purple. I'm also painting in the metal details gold. And this is what they look like after. Unfortunately, I decided not to film the whole process of me creating her outfit. I hope you guys can understand. I don't know why, but I just don't enjoy filming myself while I sew the clothes. Mostly because I always guesstimate how I make them. I don't have a proper pattern, and usually my whole sewing setup isn't conventional either, so I opted not to film it this time around. But as you just saw, I made her a top. It's almost the same color as her hair, and it closes at the back with a snap. The stocking, by the way, I didn't make myself, I just bought it online. I just ripped it. I also made her this cropped sweater. I don't really know what this is called specifically, but it is meant to be above the chest. The chest area is exposed with this type of top. I also decided to sew the necklace directly on it, and it also closes with Velcro at the back. I gave the sleeve some thumb holes. It kind of looks like a fingerless glove. I decided to go for a pleated skirt. I sewed in an elastic to catch her crotch, and it also closes with Velcro at the back. I really like the details I added in for the skirt. I think the added belt and the belt loops add so much to it. I also like this little strap that I added in, and all the gold embellishments work so well on her. I also made her these fur leg warmers, and I just decorated it with some nail charms and some chains. Here are her shoes again. I just added some nail charms in the front. Here is the BMO bag, definitely my favorite accessory. I didn't get to film how I did her phone, but basically I used a Spectra phone for this. I sculpted around it to get LSP shape, and then I just painted it to look like her. It was actually a last minute decision to make this for her, but I'm really happy that I did because now she has like a representation of what she originally looks like. Now that she's all done, I think it's time to see her glamour shots. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. Please also watch the other videos in this collaboration. Sylphic Studios created her version of Wildberry Princess. Morgsdoll did Lady Rainicorn. Strawsdoll with Flame Princess. Micro made Huntress Wizard. Kara's Custom with Princess Bubblegum. And Charlie B Dollies with Tree Trunks. We worked so hard on these dolls, so I hope you guys like them. This is my first ever collab. I hope I can do more in the future. If you're also interested, Lumpy Space Princess will be up for sale after posting this video. Further details will be up on my Instagram. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button. I'll also leave my other social medias down below if you want to see more from me. Again, this is Amber from Dolls of Amber. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again next time.